Hi, my name is Kaylin Rujema. I am 16 years old and I'm from Kigali, Rwanda. I study at Wellspring Academy and I've been studying there my whole life. I'm currently in sciences and I do physics, chemistry and maths, and I'm most passionate about chemistry and maths because I have a very firm liking for those subjects and a firm belief that's what I want to do coming from this point on. The Genius Olympiad is a sustainable competition that focuses on the innovative solutions that young students may have from all over the world on those issues that currently the world faces. So I got the idea not specifically from that competition, but because I had a firm interest for aerospace engineering and material science, and I'd always wanted to apply my skills and my talents and the research that I do in my daily life towards sustainability and the solutions we can have to combat climate change. So when I was starting up and deciding what competitions I should do, this one piqued my interest because it resonated with the values I had and what I wanted to compete in. And I knew that once I competed in it, once I got accepted and competed in it, I knew I was going to be proud about the mission that my project was bringing up. But it's a pretty straightforward process where you have to create a research proposal on the subject you are deciding to talk about, which is in line with sustainability. And then from there, the proposal, if it follows the word limits and the specific requirements that they list out for you, you also make something known as a quad template, depending on which subject you're doing. Since I did science, then you would be doing a quad template, but there's different requirements for different categories like robotics, speech, and business. But as long as you fill out the requirements and you finish your application, then you can send it in. And you get the information of whether or not you qualified as a finalist a month after. So actually, when I had gotten the news, I was half asleep in bed. I had just woken up and I saw you were accepted as a finalist and I screamed audibly. I think my mom got really scared for me and I ran out. I saw her and then I just jumped on her and she was so confused. But then I explained I had gotten in and she was so happy for me. We were so happy together, and then we started planning on how we were going to be going there and how I was going to prepare my project for the judges. Since we had well enough time from the point where I got accepted as a finalist to the actual day I was supposed to be traveling to the location of the conference, I didn't overthink it too much, as long as you have the basics of coming up with a poster if you're doing science. But obviously different categories have their own different requirements. So for robotics, making sure that your robotic sample is prepared. For speech, if your song or the speech you have prepared is according to how you want it. Business, if your pitch is worthy. Different categories had different requirements, but I was fine with mine. And seeing so many different people with their incredible projects, it kind of put me out of the mindset I was really focused in. So it got me a bit scared, but with my mom, she always keeps me a positive mindset. So I didn't actually, I got to get calmed down by her. So I set up my project. The next day, we actually did present our project. So my project was in the afternoon session. So I got time to prepare in the morning. And I had rehearsed with my mom, I think 13 times if I'm not wrong. And I think by the 13th time, she probably had memorized it. And I kept asking her, is it good enough? Is it good enough? And she told me it was good enough. And we prayed over it. I remember very vividly, we were in the conference and we had just sat down in the bleachers area. And it was just us two. And I was holding her hands and I was scared for my life. But I knew that it was all gonna go well. And it didn't help that the room was really cold at that moment. But we prayed together, and then I walked up to my station where my project was, and we had started. Since we're all packed in a conference room, you have a project next to you and another project next to you. How the competition worked is that in the afternoon session, which I was in. It started at 2 and ended around 4:30 p.m. So you'd have around 4 to 6 judges come up to you, and this could either be specialists in your field or people who have no idea or have no clue about what you're talking about. So you really had to find an intermediate when you were presenting, not only about your subject in detail, but also how you can explain it in the most easiest of ways. So it would be, there were about 50 judges, if I wasn't wrong, and they would move around depending on which project caught their eye and also which one they were assigned to be listening to, so that every project had an equal amount or around the same amount of judges who had at least judged them based on their project. So each judge had around 10 minutes with you, and I tried to keep in the same time frame. So my first 2 judges came pretty early, and the third and fourth one came much later. So it was spread out, and you had still time in between to rehearse if you had anything you wanted to rehearse over. So my project was the effects of enhanced carbon fiber reinforced polymers, or CFRP for short, on the environmental effects and efficiency of aerospace applications. Basically, I was focusing on a composite material, which you may have heard from cars of sorts, and CFRP in specific is a lightweight material. And the reason why I focused on it so much is because it's a material that has been used in aerospace, but not to its fullest potential. Reasons being because it doesn't have certain enhanced mechanical properties that inhibit it from being used in certain areas of like an aircraft or a spacecraft. But I saw the potential in it, and I saw that it can be applied in so many more areas than it is being currently applied in. Specifically being that there was certain chemical process that could be undergone, and I specifically focused on a process known as functionalization. So it's the chemical process of changing certain chemical groups. So that's what I went in detail about and explained how this can impact the fuel consumption and therefore reduce the carbon emissions of an aircraft. And I went into detail more if I needed to for certain judges and some for not. But the reason why I was so passionate about this project was because one, it combined all the things I loved really. One being aircrafts. I'd already had a fixation about it since I was a young kid. I think the first thing I ever wanted to become was an astronaut. Then it changed to a pilot. Then I finally developed to being more realistic and deciding on aerospace engineering. And it also combined what I love, which is combating climate change. So it was something that I was very passionate about, and I was really excited and happy I could combine all those fields into my project. This year there were around 1,100 students and about more than 800 projects being displayed in various different categories. Those were the amount of people that were participating and I was up against. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, honestly. So 599 projects got awarded out of the more than 800. And from different countries and different states of the US. I was the only one representing Rwanda at the competition. I was the only finalist, and I got this well before the competition because they had already sent out a finalist list to everyone who had been accepted. So I knew I was the only Rwandan that was accepted, and I prepared myself for it. For the people awarded, I was the only East African to have gotten silver. To explain the story in the fullest, I have to explain it like the morning of, or even the night before. We had just returned from the trip that they had given us, and I was with my mom in the room and was saying, tomorrow is the day, tomorrow is it. Tomorrow is the time where we decide, have we actually represented Rwanda to our fullest, or are we coming back with nothing? Because they had constantly reminded us, everyone in the competition, that only around 50 to 60% get an award, and honorable mention really wasn't an award to me. So it was really down to the 30% that got actually something. And being the only one from my country, the odds were really slim. And I was really nervous at this point. The night before, I think I prayed for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And then my mom probably even prayed longer. You had a lot of time to reflect and realize this is the time, this is where everything comes down. We had so many relatives, so many friends who were checking in, hearing about what had happened. And since it was really early for them, it was really something I felt very emotional over, because these people are really they're willing to hear about how all of this went down, despite it even coming between their own schedule. My mom was in the bleachers while I was seated down with the rest of the participants. And I remember they had first called honorable mentions. And that's the place I honestly thought I was going to at least get something in. But they finished honorable mentions, which were a lot of people. Then they went over to bronze, where I thought, at least let me win here. I thought this is the most realistic thing I could possibly win. When they finished it, I felt my heart sink at this point, because I thought, this doesn't look good. The remaining things are silver and gold, and that's honestly unlikely for my chances. And I remember looking at my mom, but she kept looking positive and kept saying, keep waiting, keep waiting. Later on, she told me she had also lost some hope at this point, but she didn't want me to see it. And I remember they were calling silver, and it had gotten around the 7th or 8th person they were calling. And I was actually drinking someone else's water at that point. I'd asked someone for water, and I was drinking it, and then they called my name, and then I choked on the water, and then I put it down, and I was like, that's my name. And I looked at my friend who was next to me. I said, that's my name, right? And it was my name indeed. I looked at my mom, and she had already started crying, and then I ran to the front so quickly, making sure the flag was with me. And I walked on stage, and I genuinely could not hold my breath. But it was the most emotional, the best feeling ever, most exhausting feeling ever, but it was the most rewarding thing I've ever felt, because it felt like all the work I had put in for the past 5-6 months had really paid off. I knew that the people watching back at home, the people who had prayed for me, the people who had constantly hoped that I would get this, they can now sit and relax that I had actually bring something back home. You get a silver medal, a certificate, and also a partial scholarship to the university. So the university, which I said, Rochester Institute of Technology, you get for silver, you get an $18,000 renewable scholarship. So this is a scholarship that's only applicable if you get accepted to the university, which is a separate application process. But if I do, I at least know that I have a secured partial scholarship to this university. So that was something that was also really big for my family, so that I know at least that I have a higher odds in the application process for university. This win was very personal for me, because I tend to really doubt sometimes the experience and the skills I may have within me. It honestly takes a lot of encouragement from a lot of people for me to really see that I actually have something in me that's worth going past the extra mile for. And going through with this, I really saw that not only can I do it, I can really do it for my community. Because when I won this, I didn't only feel like I had done something extra for me, I felt like I had done something extra for my country. I knew that as I'm now here, I'm not only representing my family, I'm representing a country. Now my name and the country I've been representing are now imprinted, and it's history that I've made in somewhat way, even though it might be minor to some, it's really big to me. And I hope to do so much more of this sort of thing. This is just honestly the beginning. And it really gave me that extra boost of encouragement that I can really do much more. And many people who think they can't, they really can. As long as you really put that effort, you see you're really passionate about something, you have to go for it. Don't see being from a small area or some place that people may not be able to point on a map as a disadvantage. What you should do is that you should actually win so big that even though people may not know where you're from, they now know because of your accomplishments. So that was my motivation and what I was really passionate about when I had won. I'm one of those type of people that has a really clear-cut way of thinking about how I want to go about things in my future. As I had said, I'd always wanted to be something related to space and the air in general. It's just something I've always been so passionate about. And actually something I go by when I think about the decisions I'm making in my life is the sky is not the limit. I don't like it when people always tell me the sky is the limit, because in my mind, that's just the beginning, especially with the way we're thinking forward with space and space transportation. It's not the limit at all, it's just the beginning in my eyes. And the way I see it from here is that I hope, and since I'm going into my final year of high school, I hope that I can secure a really good scholarship at a really good university to hopefully study mechanical engineering or aerospace engineering and fulfill my dreams in that specific field, and hopefully not only focus in other, like worldwide, but specifically focused in Rwanda and strengthen the aerospace engineering industry that's happening here. I know I wanted to push forward that it's not one of the lacking behind, but one of the leading forward in this continent. What I really like about not only my friends, but like my family especially, is that they always manage to encourage me in situations that almost seemed impossible. One of the definite challenges I had was doubt, but looking past now, I think that without these people, I don't think I would have got past that. So I'm really happy that they helped me see past it. So the people I find most inspiring in my life are my mom and my grandma. My mom, because she really went through a lot of challenges whilst not only doing this, but the many challenges to get us on top. She went through a lot of difficult situations, but still managed to give us the future we are hoping for. And I know that she knows that we are capable of what we say we are. We may have very different career paths, but she's always encouraging us. And she's always making the extra step and mile, even if it means working many more hours than many of her colleagues. She will do it because she knows that there is something to look out for, which is us. She's always the positive person you want in your life. In the different situations, especially difficult ones you may be seeing, she always has a positive outlook on it. And I think everyone who has come in contact with her can say the same. So I really hope that if I grow up to be someone great, that I can be as patient and as wise as her. And then my grandma as well, because she has gone through very difficult challenges in her life, especially from an early age. And she had to have many responsibilities, especially family-wise, and take up teaching her sister many different things from an early age, but she was still able to do it all and still able to climb the ranks and achieve her dream and do so many things that weren't even seen as possible before they even happened. And I'm so inspired by her because she didn't see any barriers when she was going towards her dream. She only saw a goal and she went after it. So I hope that I can see the same way, and I don't see my doubtness as something that really hinders me from my potential. I hope that I can just see my goal and I chase after it, despite the many walls that may try to, bring me down. So there is this pilot known as Amelia Earhart, and if anyone knows me from 7th or 8th grade, I probably talked about her at least once a day, because I loved like the mission she had, where it was to travel across the world and see the different hindsights that weren't possible. So she was one of the biggest inspirations when I was in my interest of becoming a pilot. I like that she was also one of the first few females to go through with this profession in such a difficult area and time, especially being something like a pilot. So seeing her go for it, seeing that she didn't see this as a hindrance, really pushed me forward to take the extra mile. So that's one of my biggest inspirations when I think about engineering and aerospace in general, because it's not something that's really taken up by females. It's more male dominant. So I don't see it as something as difficult, as a hindrance to me. I see it more as a way that I can be that extra percent, that extra 1% that motivates another girl to take up the same profession. Even though I don't get the best grades in sciences, even up to now, it still gives me the motivation every day to still look past that and want to continue more and more every day, because of the many question marks that are there, the many question marks I want to answer personally in the different fields that it holds. So what really brought me to sciences was the passion I had for it. And what I want to say to the girls is that passion will always prevail over easiness or quickness, because passion is something that just drives you forth past all different odds and all the challenges you may have and see. Passion is something that honestly takes you the extra mile even though you don't want to. What I want to say to all those is that don't see it as a disadvantage that you may not be performing the best or may not be the fastest in class to get a concept, because those concepts will be there forever. What should always be there is the passion you hold for that subject. So what I want to say is that don't say it as a hindrance if you, let's say, are one of the only people in your class who are taking a combination as a girl, or you're going to a university, or you're going to go doing like a course where you know there are not going to be that many other girls, because many other people are thinking the same thing and they may be giving up. You be that person that doesn't give up, so that the next girl isn't as discouraged when she sees you in her class. She's now motivated to go forward with it. So don't be that person that gets discouraged. Take the extra step, because you don't know how many people you may be encouraging to take that extra step as well. Yeah.